The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What is happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And on the phone line from WBAB in Long Island and 102.5 The Bone in Tampa Bay, the co-host of Roger and JP, known as JP, is on Hoppe Hour. What's up, dude?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you? Look at you. You're all excited. You sound all upbeat and whatnot.
Well, dude, here's the funny part about Hoppe Hour. I'm assuming when you met me at the bar crawl back in August, you see this like 6'8", lanky, uncoordinated goofball, and you would never assume that I'm just like hyper electric dude behind the mic, you know?
I would have never I never would have guessed that one. Not to mention, what are you, like one of the Tampa Bay's finest too? The podcast was like number one or something like that?
Yeah, it won Best Local Podcast in September, and I'm very happy with the show because that's one of the overall things is people can't believe that the goofball on the Mike Kelta show or the goofball that's on the other shows on the Bone has this sort of electric thing when it comes to being on the air. I sort of live behind the mic, you know what I mean?
I hear you. And let me ask you a question about, obviously because we do the show from New York after we do our morning show on BAB, we got about an hour off and then we walk down the hall and then we do the Bone show. But, I only catch the promos. Did Miguel really get to finger, what's her name today?
Yeah, I was waiting on the couch, so I didn't get to see it, but I think he more rubbed it. I don't think there was like an inserting, but he definitely touched it, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
And what I love is since he's a gay man, which is fine, he didn't see any pleasure in it, but any other guy would be like, oh, my goodness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, here's the deal about that, though. And I've said it a million times. Like, I feel like if a gay dude was inside of a vagina once to rethink everything, you have to. I mean, it's too good. It's too good. It's magical. It's like a unicorn. You know what I'm saying? Like, who doesn't like a unicorn? So you get it. I don't know. Whatever they're into. I mean, I'm not. It's whatever makes everybody happy makes everybody happy. But I'm like, how do you go? How could you pick that over that? It doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't get it.
I've never done that. Have you done that with a girl? Because I've only had intercourse.
What? Done what?
Backdoor action.
Yeah. You never did that?
I haven't done it yet, dude. I have the weirdest sex life. I lost my V card to a 48-year-old MILF that was a fan of the show I worked on in Cleveland. And then I had sex with a Bone fan last month, and I had sex on a speed date. But I've had sex 3 times, and they've all been the weirdest experiences. And I'm very uncoordinated when I have sex. Like,
right.
It's just not a good look, JP. 22.
How old are you? You're 22, you've only had sex 3 times, but that's all right. The 49-year-old, well, listen, when I was 19, I coached a soccer team, and I ended up banging one of the mothers. We were at an end-of-the-year party at the house. This is a funny story. We were at an end-of-the-year party at the house, and, I got invited back, and we were all having drinks. And one of the mothers, she had been hitting on me all season long, but I was like, well, she was divorced, so it didn't really matter. I wasn't dating anybody. I sure as hell wasn't married. I was 19. And she was hitting on me the whole time, so all the other fathers were like, you got to bang her, you got to bang her, you got to bang her. So I called my buddy Derek up. I go, D, you got to get over here. I go, you got to come see this because nobody's going to believe it. Because, when you're 19 and a 40, now there wasn't – I'm about to, like, date myself, but there was no internet porn at the time. So it wasn't like MILF.com. That didn't exist.
Yeah.
So all these stories that you can just dial up on YouPorn or Pornhub or whatever now, put in MILF and you got everything, that didn't happen. Well, this was happening. So I call my buddy Derek. I'm like, D, you got to get down here. So he comes in. I'm like, you see what's going on here? He's like, yeah, go bang her. So I take her and we go for, I forgot, we just park somewhere. And can I curse on this thing?
Say whatever the fuck you want.
Right on. So I take her and I'm fucking her, and I have an old Chevy Blazer, the big one. Your older audience will know the K5 Blazer, which is a big. Picture it like a like the Tahoe,
yeah,
like Chevy Tahoe now. Okay, So, and I'm fucking her on the front seat. Now, I'm 19 years old. I got a lot of lead in the pencil. So I got 2 off with one hard on. Like I never lost it. But I'm laughing so hard that I gotta bite the seats because I can't believe what's happening here. You know. Again,
what position was it?
I was on top. So the seat was like back and then reclined, and I was on top. So I'm biting the seat because I'm laughing so hard. To when I sold that truck, like 2 years later, it still had the bite marks in it. So when you tell me you lost your virginity to a 40, I didn't lose my virginity, but I was young. And the older women, man, they know what to do. There's no shame in that game, Hoppy. No shame. Be proud of yourself.
I'm not a show that tries to be like edgy or force it, but I will say this since we're just having a convo between two dudes. When she went south of the border, she knew exactly what she was doing. You know what I mean? Because they've had like 30 years of that.
Yeah. The only problem is you better hope she didn't have anything on her lips.
She had nothing. I actually took a urine test when I got to Cleveland just to be safe. Just because it was one of those things where I'm like, she's as old as she could be to be my mom. So you kind of felt weird afterwards. You know what I mean? But I did use a condom. You don't have to worry, JP.
Dude, I worry about kids today, man. I don't want you getting the herp.
How weird is it? Speaking of like porn, because we were talking about it just a few minutes ago. How weird is it for like you that 20 years ago you had to go to like a snuff theater or go to a scumbag like shop to buy porn, and now you can literally just watch Lisa Ann and 5 dudes on a cell phone? How weird is that?
You know what it is? It's like you had magazines that you got passed around by friends or whatever it is, or it was always under your mattress or something along those lines. And it was about, I guess, when I was in college, my senior year in college is when the internet came around. I feel like an old bastard. But, I'm 43, so I guess it was 94, I want to say 94 is when all of a sudden, everybody had online access, 95. And then it was all right there. And then the world was your oyster. But that was all dial-up, too. So it wasn't like instantaneously when you click to the next one, you got everything is right there. That was like press a button, wait for the page to download. It still sucked, but it was better than using a magazine that had been used by your buddy's brothers, his friends. You didn't know what you were touching. It was gross. Or it was like outside under a rock. It was horrible. It was horrible. But, back then at that point, I would just go back to I would be more of a spank bank guy at that time. I would just go back to memories and call up a file and then boom, and you always had your favorite ones that you would go back to and stuff like that.
See, dude, I didn't lose my V card until I was 21 years old, so I had no spank bank because I got disapproved and rejected by girls my whole life that I felt sad when I would do that. So I always had to resort to porn, dude. Like, I've always been rejected by women my whole life.
Why?
I don't know, dude. I tried so hard to fit in high school. Like, there was this girl I liked. I've talked about this on the show before. And what happened was I was obsessed with her. I thought I had a chance with her. And there was this one day she was making fun of me at lunch. So I squeezed my milk carton. It exploded. And I said, Pam, I would treat you like a princess. Dude, I was that weird in high school. Like, I was meant to be on the radio. I'm a weirdo, JP.
Oh, you're a disaster. Jesus Christ. You're 6'6", yeah? You're 6. What are you, 6'6", 6'8"?
6'8", dude.
What size shoe you wear?
18.
Dude, you gotta have a monster cock. You have to.
I will say this, and I'm not even bragging. Every girl has gotten off. The first 2 times I was so nervous, I didn't get off. But the girls were like, how did you not get off? I got off 3 times.
Wait a second. When you lost your virginity, you didn't get off?
Dude, I take these pills, and I'm open about it on the show and on Kelta. I have ADD, ADHD, and bipolar, and like Klonopin and Lamictal. I couldn't get off. Only when they went south of the border on me, dude. It's weird.
You know why? Because let me ask you a question. When they went south of the border, you weren't wearing a condom, right?
Yeah, dude. The condom sucks.
That's the worst. It's the worst. That's the downside. That's the downside. Those condoms, I can't get off with condoms either.
And then the problem is here's the other thing. Like I said, my show is not like a pornographic show, but I'll just say this. Thing is,
it is now.
Right? I'm not good at like missionary or like banging them from behind because I'm so uncoordinated and they're so much shorter than me that it was hard to do it. But I'm only good, obviously, when they're on top. So they get annoyed and they get sore. So then they're like, okay, get on top of me. Then the problem is I'm so big and I had a little gut back then that, dude, I have the weirdest sex life, man. I'm just hoping to find a girl who's cute and accepts me for who I am.
The older chicks will guide you through it.
Yeah.
The young ones don't have time for it. The older chicks, that mom that you were banging, does she have a kid?
She has like 3.
Yeah, she'll guide you through it.
Oh, she did.
Keep that chick's number. Keep that chick's number.
She's in prison.
Why?
4 DUIs.
Why is she in prison?
4 DUIs.
Nice. That's great. Well, she probably gets out soon. How long?
She's all the way in Chicago. Here's the best part. While I was banging her, Lil Jon and all these crappy rappers from the 2000s were playing, and then she lives right by the airport in Chicago. So, like, half the time, airplanes were just going over.
Nice. Well, listen, man, it'll all work out for you. Just be patient.
How have you done with the ladies? Like, when it comes to being on the radio, have you found success? Because that's the only way I've gotten laid. Over the years, before you got married, JP, was that one of the ways you would get chicks?
No, you know what, dude? I got to be honest with you. The radio thing happened on accident. I was leaving, as a matter of fact, when the radio thing took off. I was dating the girl who I ended up marrying when I got out of college. But we were on again, off again, on again, off again. So I would bang interns and shit like that, you know? Bang interns and chicks that worked at the office and that kind of stuff. And then I was a promo guy. So, and back in the day, you know, when you were a promo guy, they would be like, well, the holiday weekends would come around and they would be like, all right, here's like, you know, the van, a case of T-shirts, you know, tickets to everything that's coming to the beach. And if it was like Memorial Day weekend, Friday, they'd be like, come back Tuesday. And they didn't care where you stayed, how you made it happen. So I would put a keg of beer, all my friends, and drive out to the Hamptons and do the holiday weekend. So when you got a pocket full of tickets at you, it was easy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't really take a lot of work. But yeah, I mean, of course I used it to my advantage. Back then you were able to. I mean, literally they would say, it would be Friday, and they would say, come back Tuesday. Now the bean count is like you have to write down every 15-minute interval you work at. It sucks. The business sucks compared like now than when it used to. It really does. If there's any advice I can give you, it's trust no one.
I learned that. I worked on a show in Cleveland, and all they did was exploit me and make fun of me, and then we went separate ways, and then Rob saved me in radio, and now I work down here. And even though I love everyone at 102.5 The Bone, it's one of those things, JP, where I'm always looking out for myself, and I'm focused on making this happy hour thing work. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, right on. Well, listen, man, I mean, Calta seems to have taken you under his wing a bit, right?
Yeah, Calta's been great to me because he gives me the exposure on air. Drew Garabo has been great to me. A cat named Mo. Everyone here has embraced me, and I always try to keep it humble. Like, I sometimes get recognized at bars because I'm 6'8" and goofy, and it's one of those things where it's flattering. It's cool that they want a selfie, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I go, I'm just a promotions kid. I'm not an on-air host, and I keep grinding until I make it because I never want to forget where I came from. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's how I started.
Yeah.
You know, I was an intern at BAB, and then I got hired right out of college, and I was driving the vans, dude, and I did that for 5 years. And I did that, and then I was out on my own, so I was doing that. I was selling weed, you know, just to be able to have a place to, you know, to have an apartment because I moved out of the house, you know. And then all of a sudden I was about to leave. I had gotten a job offer to go be an assistant and I was fortunate at the time, man, because like I said, the business was different, and the guy that ran the programming was also the morning guy, Bob Buckman, who I still look at today as one of the few people I trust in the business, and I probably trust maybe 5, right? And I've been doing it for 20 plus years, right? He's one of the very few people, but he would always just like I got pulled over driving the vans while smoking a joint, and the cops pulled me over, and they were like. And I thought I was going to jail. Never mind losing my job and the whole deal. And this is how cool he was. I got out of the car, and I said to the cop, I go, hey, man, I wasn't speeding to blow. And he's like, no, man. And then my other buddy opened up the car. A big thing of smoke comes out, right?
Oh, my God.
And the cop just looked at me. I was like, oh, man. He goes, hey, man, it's all good. Rock and roll. You got any T-shirts?
Are you kidding me?
To the 2 cops, I swear to God. And I said to the 2 cops, and I said, listen, I don't have anything left. I was just coming back from a Monday Night Football gig. I said, I don't have anything left. I said, if you guys give me your name and badge numbers, I will be at the precinct tomorrow with one of everything we have. Right?
Yeah.
The next morning, I go into work. I see Bob Buckman. I go, Bob. He's like, what's up, man? I go, listen, man, I got pulled over in the van last night. He's like, everything cool? I said, yeah, I was smoking a joint. He's like, Jesus, JP. I go, yeah, I need the key. I go, he's like, what do you need? I go, they let me go. Everything was cool. I said, I got to bring him some prizes. And he goes, he gives me the key to the prize cage. He goes, go get everything you need. And I got everything I need, and I went to the precinct. I brought it to them, and one of the cops had just bought into a restaurant, and I got him on the air. He spent $10,000 in advertising as a client.
How nervous were you? Like, was this a point where your eyes opened up and you're like, okay, I need to focus on the radio game and not doing illegal drugs?
I never wanted. You got to understand. I never wanted to be on the air.
Yeah,
I never cared. And that's probably what I had going for me. I never cared about it. And then what happened was that guy Bob, he would start to use me as like a man, because we would sit around the office and I would like bang interns and leave their panties on his desk, or I'd break into his office and roll a joint and leave the seeds and seeds or whatever on his desk, or leave rolling papers or whatever, just break balls, because he was married and he was living through me. He saw what I was up to. And he was jealous, not jealous, but he missed being able to go around and get laid all the time. So he just he left, And in that time, Roger, my partner, was the afternoon guy, right? So every Friday we did the Friday afternoon happy hour. So he was the guy on the air, and I was the promotions guy. So I would go around and get the crowd going and do all that stuff. But while the music was playing, we would just sit around and bullshit. So when Buckman left, they gave him mornings, and they said, what do you want? What do you need? What do you think you need? He said, I want JP. Now, I had gotten an offer from one of the record labels and to go be an assistant. It was like anything just to get out of the vans, because at 5 years I was burnt out. I was in clubs 5 nights a week. It was just too much. And I ended up saying, okay, well, I'll give this thing a shot. And, we just wrapped up 16 years of this thing. We just finished 16 years doing mornings on WBAB. We're in our 17th year. And then the bone thing happened 6 months ago.
What do you think he saw in you?
Oh, Bob? What do you think Bob saw in me, or Raj?
Both.
I made him laugh. And there was no drama. I asked, more so with Bob. Raj was just like, we did the happy hours together, and we would just bullshit and laugh. Bob took time to teach me stuff.
Yeah.
He was the morning guy, but he was also the program director, and he's the one who put WBAB on the map, and he took the time to teach me stuff, but I would go in and ask questions. Like, they were doing a music meeting one time, and he went to go shut the door for a music meeting, and just as he was shutting the door, I put my foot in. He's like, JP, what are you doing? I go, is this the music meeting when you guys, talk about what music you're going to play? And he goes, yeah. I go, I want to sit in here. I want to learn about this. And he's like, okay, come on in. And from that point, I was in every music meeting after that. So I kicked in all my doors. The one thing I can say about me is I don't know anybody's shit.
Yeah.
Nobody did me favors. Nobody went out of their way. I earned everything I got. Earned it. There was a time in the very beginning where the show was a little rocky. We had nobody teaching us. We were just, here, let's just see if this thing sticks, and there was a time where it got rocky, probably in year like 2 or 3. And all of a sudden I was just like, you know what? Because I was just going to be the wise-ass guy. So I didn't do any of the show prep. I didn't do any of that stuff at that time. And then when I realized what was on the line, I kicked it into overdrive and kind of took over that part. Now, we all still chip in and do show prep, but I just we just took off and ran. And, you know, I'm not taking credit. We did it as a team, but I was a more active part of it. You know what I'm saying? Where instead of just letting everybody else decide what was happening, I was like, fuck this. And then, boom, you know, and we took off. And then once we took off, you know, now it's like we can pretty much stay at BAB for as long as we want, for the most part, you know, unless I do something stupid, which is possible. What Bob saw in me was balls.
Yeah.
I didn't back down from anything. I wasn't shy about what I wanted. I didn't care about what I had to do to get it. As long, you know, I would never throw anybody under the bus or, you know, make somebody else look bad to get something. But if I wanted something, I went after it.
Now, when things are rocky the first few years and the ratings weren't the best, was there a point where you and Roger were not, like, getting along and there was a chance that the show would have broken up early on?
No. You know what? It was never that, because there was a respect. You got to realize, too, there's a 9-year difference between Roger and I. You know, Roger's 9 years older than me. And I was a punk kid. You know, I was 25 I was 25 when I was driving the van. So I was probably 20, I don't know, what was I, 28, 29 when I started on the air?
Yeah.
28. You know, there was never that time. But Roger and I aren't friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, Roger and I, we work together. We're friends at work, but we don't hang out, you know? Because especially now that we're doing the Bone, like, we're very different people with different interests and different, like he loves to play poker. I can't sit at a fucking poker table to save my life. I'll kill myself, you know? I just don't have the patience for it. So we're just very different people. That's what makes that show work.
Yeah.
That's what makes that show work. Because if you had, like, you know, a bunch of people sitting around with the same opinions, you know, that gets boring.
Now,
that gets boring.
Now, what's it like maybe when you see some of your competition around town? I've always wanted to know this, because is it weird when you maybe see the people you go up against, or do you guys get along?
I don't give a shit. No, I don't give a shit. I don't see them out much, especially around here, man, because I don't do – like, Kalt is out of his mind. Like, Kalt is out doing gigs all the time. I don't do that shit that much anymore. You know, I do the ones that I have to do, and it's not about being lazy. Like, we take on Long Island, we take January and we turn it into Manuary, right?
Yeah.
So what we do with that is like, you know, every Tuesday night in the month of Manuary, we'll take 10 guys out to a high-end steak night, right? To a high-end steakhouse. We'll feed them. We'll have drinks with them, hang out, meet them, see what they like about the show, what they don't like. And then on the weekends, we do other gigs. Like this past weekend, we do what's called a wild game party. So we take over a club in the afternoon to watch the wild card games. We sell tickets for that one. It's one of the 2 events a year that we sell tickets for. And it's all the wild game you can imagine. Like this year we had yak, wild boar, bear stew, all these different kinds of exotic games, and then open bar and all that other stuff. And then this Friday we do body sushi. So we'll go to some strip club, and the strippers will lay down, and the guys will eat sushi off of the strippers, and then we go and have cigars and scotch and shit like that. And then we do another event where we'll take 20 guys to a skybox for the Islander game. And then the next week, we're taking 20 guys to the Prudential Center in limousines and all the other shit, and we'll go to the UFC fights. And then it all culminates with us taking 10 listeners to Vegas Super Bowl weekend. So I get more done in January than a lot of morning guys get done doing a year. Calta does a lot of shit, man. He does a lot of shit. Like, I watch that dude go, and I'm like, man, God bless him. God bless him. That dude earns his money. Make no mistake about it.
What are some of the craziest things that have happened with all the events that you guys do? Like, what's one moment that just comes to your mind?
We had this. I don't know if you remember in the news. She made national headlines. There was this chick called the hot dog hooker.
Yeah.
You remember the hot dog hooker? Well, she comes on our show all the time, and we do a big St. Patty's Day party called Corned Beef and Chaos, and it's a couple of thousand people, and it's like free admission, dollar beers, it's literally chaos for 5 hours. So we bring her and we put on shows between acts and stuff like that. And she came up on the stage right before she came up on stage with us. She shit herself. She shit herself, and then she bent over and mooned everybody, and she had a tampon string hanging out.
Isn't this the girl that said she would give out HJs?
Yeah.
Oh my God, is she classless?
Yeah, no, it's a mess, and she's got a lot of issues, but she's a cool person. She's just all fucked up. So her shitting herself is one of them. I would say, Jesus Christ, we had a little incident where I had said we ran promos all weekend long. It was a Thanksgiving weekend. This was probably 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And we ran promos all weekend long saying, listen, Monday morning at 7 a.m., Roger and JP's got a major announcement, and gather the kids around the radio and all that other shit. So we ran promos for 4 days over Thanksgiving weekend, and then I come on Monday morning at 7:20 and say, there's no such thing as Santa. Santa Claus is your mother and father working 2 jobs to get you a fucking Xbox and all that stuff. Yeah, that was bad. That one was bad. That one got me a lot of death threats.
What were you thinking, JP? Why do you think you'd get away with that in prime time?
You know why? Because it wasn't my idea. Truth be told, it was something that we were kicking around in the office, and Roger's like, no way, no way, no way. And the old program director at the time said, no, what we need to do is make an announcement out of it. That's the only reason I didn't get fired, because it was the program director's idea. You know?
Yeah.
But that whole weekend, I was out in Montauk with my wife, and I said, this is going to be bad. This is going to be real bad. But, you know, there was a time we saved some guy from killing himself. You know, there's been a lot. 9/11 happened on our watch. You know what I'm saying? So if I had to say a moment that I'm sorry about that, buddy, a moment that I'm most proud of, I would say, you know, it's the way we handled 9/11. But it was not just in Raj, it was everything that went on. That was the way our listeners rallied like nothing I've ever seen before. That was crazy. That was literally, you know, we sent, I can't tell you how many tons of supplies into New York City came from our listeners. I mean, lines miles long to drop off supplies to us. And the only listeners were running the show in the parking lot. Whoever had the Sharpie, that's who was in charge. It was crazy. But that'll go down to, in my mind, as one of the greatest things I ever unfortunately had to be a part of.
How hard was it, like, when you find out that we have been attacked? Like, how did you guys break it down on air? Because we know guys like Howard had legendary broadcasts. How did you guys approach it when it was like around like 9 a.m. when it happened?
Unfortunately, the way we handled that incident, cemented us on Long Island.
Really?
The way we handled, that cemented us. That made us. You know, I don't know. Without that happening, I don't know if the show was still alive.
What did you guys do?
We, because we do a rock show here, and then we dropped all music and we just let people talk because, you know, when you're from here, when you're on Long Island, everybody knows New York City cops. Everybody knows New York City firemen. Everybody knows people who work in the financial district. Everybody knows people that work downtown Manhattan. You just do.
Yeah.
You know, here's a thing to this. I was hosting a Monday Night Football gig at a strip club the night before, September 10th, Giants versus Denver. And it was the first Monday night game of the season. And a bunch of my friends who all work in downtown Manhattan were out with me that night when I hosted Monday Night Football, getting lap dances, drinking, partying. And they were all, 7 of them, were all late for work the next day. There is a very good chance that they all would have been gone if we didn't have that Monday Night Football gig the night before. That's a true story.
How eerie is that for you? Because everyone kind of has a moment or thing that they can say about it if they're from New York or Long Island. I'm from Chicago, and I was just in 2nd grade, so I remember it happened. Right. And I don't want to make you feel old, but the thing that I remember from 9/11 was it just seemed like we had the longest recess, and our teachers kept going in and out of the playground. And I remember thinking as a little kid, something's up. So, how weird was it for you? Were you afraid for your life? What's going through your mind when this is happening?
You didn't have time to where I was, because I was in a studio on Long Island, 40 miles away. 40 miles away from all that. So I was afraid for my friends.
Yeah.
I started making phone calls and trying to track down my friends because I didn't know where they were. A lot of them, I didn't know. My friends that were cops. One of my closest friends, Steve, we grew up next door to each other. He was covered in dust. In dust. He was fucked up for years after that. And now he's cool, but it took a long time, man. I had friends who were on the pile that died from cancer afterwards. So, when you talk, and I don't want to be a buzzkill on your show and stuff like that, but that whole thing was, major, and what we did, that cemented the Roger and JP show on Long Island.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Is all brand new.
Wait, what's up?
I said, now the Tampa thing is all brand new. That's a lot of fun.
What's it like going from a show that's rock-centric with talk to doing all talk radio? What have you guys done to make it work?
We just let it riff. We just let it rip, man. Because we have our opinions and we're different, and people are either going to like it or they're not going to like it. And it seems like they dig it. It's working. It's working down there. It's more fun, because a lot of times on Long Island, we'll get started and then we got to stop. It's like start and stop, start and stop, start and stop. Because on this radio station in New York, there's always an expectation of music because there always has been music. Yeah. The Bone, what goes on in that station, that's just, letting it fly. And you have 3, I think, very different shows. Very different shows. 3, when I'm talking about Calta, ourselves, and then, Drew. And I know a cat named Mo, and I know what those guys do. So everything is different. But, just being able to let it rip and relax and do an interview and not have it be rushed or whatever it is. And it's fun because you start getting an idea. When you start riffing, man, and start going around the room and the ideas start bouncing around, it's all live, that is the best. That is the best.
Have guys like Mike Kelta and Drew Garabo given you any advice over the past 6 months, or is it one of those things where your success has just come in time?
No, everybody's just been cool. You know what I'm saying? Everybody breaks balls. Like Calta and Gavin will make fun of, they'll do impressions of me and Raj. And then our producer does a spot on Mike Calta, and Drew has come on our show. We've gone on Drew's show. We've gone on Mike's show. So there's a lot of crossover, especially when we're in town. Once a quarter, they try and get us in town. We can do our shows from Tampa, and then we can really all just kind of get together and riff. But Calta's, he welcomed us in open arms. He really did. But he also knows that we're not a couple of rookies either. He knows we've been successful. He knows what we've done done up here. And he was happy to have a live show. Coming on after him. He was happy to go to something live. So it all just worked out. It really did. It was just, but it took a long time. Roger and I, we were up for a gig at WNEW in New York City. They were looking for a show, and then I got to fly, man. I got to do some stuff with my kids. But they were looking for a show. Opie and Anthony were doing, I want to say they were doing afternoons at the time. And I was Opie's intern. I was there when Opie and Anthony started together.
Oh, cool.
Opie was the night guy. Anthony was, HVAC guy who was in this band called Rot Gut. They did like parody songs live, and they were really good, him and his brother Joe. And then I think I told the story on Calta Show. And then I just watched those two just take off. So anyway, years later, they get fired out of Boston. Roger actually had a hand in that. He played the news reporter in Florida that reported that the mayor of Boston was dead. That's what got Opie and Anthony fired, right? And Roger was the voice for that.
Really?
Because Roger was the afternoon guy, Opie was the night guy before. Then they went off to Boston. That whole thing happens. So then NEW at the time, Viacom couldn't get anybody to play nice in the sandbox with Opie and Anthony. They knew we would be okay.
Yeah.
So we have an interview. We have a meeting set up in New York City on Monday or Tuesday. They pulled the Sex for Sam stunt on Friday.
Oh, my God.
The Friday before. Everybody involved got fired.
How heartbreaking was that?
It was just, that was one of many moments like that. But you just, you know what, dude? You just put your head down and you keep on going. And then there's been other opportunities and gigs that we were up for, some that we turned down, some that we would have probably regretted taking had we been offered it. But and that all led us to doing this thing, doing the 2 shows a day, which is fun, man. It's a grind, but it's a good grind. You know what I'm saying? When you get to be creative and just, that's the best. There's nothing better, man. There's nothing better than being in that studio. It's when you come out of the studio and you got to deal with people with suits. That's when it gets a little, I'd rather start drinking and, I don't want to deal with that stuff, but it is what it is. Now,
before I let you go, because you have prep to do and you're a father as well, where can people hear your show and where can they find your work online?
We are, theboneonline.com for The Bone Show and the Bone app. You can listen to us. We're on from 11 to 2, and now you have the Bone TV as well. That's on the app and on the website. And then the WBAB show is at WBAB.com, and there is also an app. The WBAB app. It's on the apps, Google Play, App Stores, all that shit. I don't do a ton of the social media because I can't fucking stand it, but the show does. Brett, our producer, handles the Roger and JP stuff, and I do some. I don't understand everybody, like, they love this, the Twitter, and even Raj loves to do the tweeting and all the other stuff. I'm like, I just don't remember to do it. I always kind of say, like, I'm living in the moment. I'm like, I don't stop what I'm doing. Like, I should tweet this.
Yeah.
But apparently that's the thing I'm supposed to be doing. I keep getting yelled at for it. Whatever.
Well,
it
dude,
is what it is, man.
Have a good night, man, and keep up the good work. I've appreciated how you guys have embraced me, and I love that you guys are doing kick-ass radio in Tampa.
Hey, man, keep your chin up and keep going forward, all right? We'll get you laid again soon. Don't worry about it.
Sounds good, JP. When you guys come out onto town again in the next quarter, let's make sure that you're my wingman, because I feel like you could get the job done for me, dude.
Right on. We'll bring. Why does Olivero break your ball so much?
That guy loves me, man. He likes to pretend that he's annoyed with me. When I first came to town, I was a nervous wreck who didn't know what I'm doing. But over time, I think he has shown how much he loves me. Olivero's a good dude.
Yeah, he is a good dude. And just so you know, he always says good stuff about you, too. So, all right, man, keep up the good work. I'll see you soon.
All right, thank you, dude.
Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And that was JP from the Roger and JP show on WBAB in Long Island, and here middays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 The Bone. Shout out to him for coming on the show. I got to hang out with them and just get to know them at the bar crawl back in August, and they were really good guys. So go to theboneonline.com and download the app. You can watch them on Bone TV, and you can listen to them live. If you want to hear more of Hoppe Hour, it's not hard. Download my app as well, so then you can have the Bone app up, and then you can have my app as well. It works out in the end. Download it by searching Hoppe Radio in the Google Play and iPhone shop. Just search up Hoppe Radio. You can hear all 41 of my interviews since July. It's hard to believe it's been 41. It's worked out pretty well overall since the first time I had Seth on. That was my first interview, and now the 41st is JP. So shout out to Tampa Bay, and shout out to everyone who has shown support to me. I'm honored that John Brennan lets me use the rooms to record Hoppe Hour, and I truly appreciate the support Tampa has given me and how everybody here at the Bone has been gracious to me and has dealt with me over the last 8 months. When I first came to town, I was a nervous wreck who is kind of recovering from how I was treated in Cleveland. But now I feel more confident than ever, and I want to keep pushing Hoppe Hour forward. So shout out to JP for coming on Hoppe Hour. By the way, this has been Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, saying peace out.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.